In 1902, University of Michigan President James Angel and a group of male students formed a senior society. They named themselves Michigamua. Each year, 25 members are initiated to fight like hell for Michigan through Michigamua. The Michigan Union opened in 1919 with the help of Michigamua funds. In 1932, the university granted Michigamua permission to remodel and occupy the Union's 7th floor. Michigamua occupied the 7th floor for the next 68 years. On February 6, 2000, 8 students of Color Coalition members gained access to the Michigamua meeting space. What they found caused them to protest for 37 days.
We're here on the 4th floor of the Michigan Union, where the SEC has occupied the space of the Michigamua Wigwam, which is on the 7th floor. Now what we're going to do is give you a tour of the Michigamua Wigwam so you can see what's inside. We're going to explain to the best of our ability why it's important, why we're here, and why we think the university isn't responding and what we think should happen. All right. Manjo.
You're now entering the wigwam of Michigamua. Before this occupation started, 35 days ago, it was only open to 25 members each year.
Well, I think that was a really painful period for the university because the students who were protesting were expressing really legitimate concerns about racial stereotyping.
I was angry because I had been lied to personally by members of Michigamua who told me to my face that they had changed and they didn't do these things anymore.
People were asking about and protesting about the use of Native American artifacts.
Originally it was an organization where campus leaders from all facets of campus came together.
Michigamua is not a normal student organization. I don't know any other student organization that has presidents and administrators as honorary members.
Members of Michigamua include former President Gerald Ford, playwright Arthur Miller, and former Supreme Court Justice Frank Murphy. Michigan sports legends Bo Schembechler, Fielding Yost, and Fritz Chrysler were also members. Notable members include university presidents James Angel, Henry Hutchins, Harlan Hatcher, Robin Fleming, former Dean of Students Joseph Bursley, and Neal Pancholi.
Why did I join Michigamua? Well, I joined because I've been involved in various student activities over my 4 years here, and I felt it was a great way to give back to the university at a higher level.
Michigamua, like other organizations, has a complicated history, and if you look at the U.S. government, you look at the university, you look at our country, you can see that historically a lot of things might have taken place that now, when we look through a modern lens, we might not agree with.
At the time, those individuals chose to use various rituals of Native American culture to embody what they felt was appropriate for the organization.
Dressing up in headdresses and painting themselves red and giving themselves crazy names.
The Fleming building, the dude's name was like Silver Feather Fleming, Silver Feathers or something, you know, his Michigamua name.
The great scalper Yost is referred to as a great chief. So it can easily read to any community. You could say great lyncher Yost, or great Jew roaster Yost, or great wetback killer Yost. It'd all be the same.
Michigamua does not currently have any Native American symbolism or artifacts or rituals. I would not have felt comfortable joining an organization that did.
However, it didn't used to be that way.
Around the turn of the century, Michigan was like all the Ivy League schools, many other schools, where there's elite leadership organizations that are created.
Even though its purpose may not be the destruction of other people and like insulting other people, really its foundation is relying on that.
Michigamua chose to represent themselves as a mythological tribe of Native Americans. They fashioned themselves as a tribe, and they created a whole complex set of rituals. There's a style of language. I equated the organization used for almost 90 years of their history exclusively for meetings and internal correspondence, a stylized form of English which was supposed to sound like a Native American.
What's wrong with that? Well, if it was in a vacuum, maybe nothing would be wrong with it, but it's coming on the edge of 500 years of colonization of Native people by European people.
Looking from a current perspective, we realize it's completely wrong, completely inappropriate to use Native American culture in that regard.
In 1989, Michigamua and the Native American Student Association negotiated a legal agreement where they said they would give up all references to Native American culture except for their name.
And in the 89 agreement, Michigamua has kept to removing all of that symbolism and all of those rituals.
By the University of Michigan, a representative from the Minority Affairs Commission, a Native American student, and the president of the Michigamua Alumni Council and the president of Michigamua. And this was on November 1st, 1989. And basically, it took note that the behavior of Michigamua is offensive and that they would eliminate all references to Native American culture and pseudo-culture and extensions and parodies thereof, with the one exception being the name Michigamua, for now and forever.
After receiving the news about the agreement, many Michigamua alumni wrote letters to University President James Duderstadt.
April 18th, 1990. Dear President Duderstadt, in the latest Tower Talk, I learned of the silly name changes we have been forced to accept in order to exist.
January 5th, 1990. Dear Dr. Duderstadt, let's try to reclaim Michigan's reputation for free expression.
Dear Mr. President, a great wrong has been inflicted on Michigamua. I am ashamed of the university.
Frankly, I've never understood why the Native Americans would be any more offended by someone using their native dress than would a Scotsman by someone other than a Scot wearing a kilt.
Whither tomorrow? Iranians, Turks, Egyptians?
I would confidently suggest, sir, that somewhere in this university family, some single member of Michigamua has done more for our university over the past year than has the combined membership of the Native Americans who have complained of our existence.
The Poles seem to have survived generations of jokes poked at them. None of these minorities were treated as reverentially as are our Indians in Michigamua rituals.
I was not a negotiator and can only judge by results, but it appears to me Michigamua was forced to sign an agreement or face extinction.
And I hope you've noticed that Native Americans don't hesitate to dress in Native garb themselves if they can make $1 by doing so.
I would appreciate your explanation of how this step backwards into the Dark Ages could occur at Michigan, of all places.
Sincerely, Fritz Geib.
Sincerely yours, E.J. Perlberg.
Yours truly, Gopher Squaw, Michigamua 32.
10 years later, the Students of Color Coalition was formed.
In 2000, when the Student of Color Coalition broke into the tower and found certain things in the attic, the next day when the Daily published what they had found in the attic, that was the first time that members of Michigamua in 2000 had actually even seen the artifacts. And so when they were displayed around the room, it was really an attempt at sensationalizing a lot of things that were gone after '89.
So we're going to take this time real quick to show you what we saw when we came in the room and how the room looked prior to us setting things up like this. So first of all, let's just say that the wigwam, we didn't build the wigwam was here when we walked in. That was there.
We actually stopped using the term wigwam in 1989 with the agreement. We have not used it since in any form or matter. And we have no intentions to, and we completely acknowledge that it's wrong to use that form, use that terminology.
Now, as for the artifacts, sure, some things were in the crawl space, but this is what was in the room. All of the yearbooks were in the room, these headdresses were in the room, So are these armbands?
They obviously didn't uphold it, therefore I have no reason to believe that they would ever uphold any agreement that they make with anyone, which is why I don't believe Michigamma members when they say it's not racist anymore, because, like, unless you invite me to something that you're doing and you prove to me that you're not racist, I have nothing to go on, because obviously your word's no good.
Things are made increasingly difficult because membership in both organizations and both communities transitions from year to year. And so a lot of things that have happened in '89 or in 2000, members of both Michigamma and the Native American community are no longer here. And so we're left with seniors every year or younger members every year who hear a lot of things that might not be true on all sides.
We also found reference to the pipe in actual use in photographs. This is dated 1996.
Basically, I think the agreement's a load of crap.
One has the pipe in one hand. This is a different pipe. You can see the bowl is made out of pipestone. It has that long wooden stem. And the cup of beer in the other hand.
While current members claim to not use Native American culture, the name Michigamma is still controversial.
The name Michigamma was a fictional name created similar to the way that Michigania was created, as a way to sound like the word Michigan and to be sort of Michigan-centric.
They told us in many meetings, on many occasions, that we've changed everything except for our name. We just leave us that. That's all we ask.
It's an Ojibwe word, and the reason that it's so important is because it's a part of the language.
If you're still holding on to that sense of entitlement over Native American cultures.
Michigamma believes that what they do exemplifies humility. Others see it as secret.
What the organization actually does depends on who you ask.
I find it sad that we didn't have a better understanding of what they were doing, how they were doing it.
Well, the main goal of Michigamma is to make Michigan, the University of Michigan, a better place for all the students in it.
Even though they may have other goals in mind, like getting good jobs or raising money or whatever it is they do.
A lot of organizations that are compared to Michigamma, unrightly I feel, a lot of those organizations are about self-betterment and sticking to a recluse group. Michigamma was strictly created for the benefit of Michigan.
The core values of Michigamma involve service, leadership, humility, building friendships with student leaders from across different spectrums and across different backgrounds.
After leaving, I expect nothing except to have great, resilient friendships.
Perhaps the thing that the group wants to give, the gift of time and talent and so forth that the group wants to give, isn't what the university needs or a particular community needs. They didn't ask for this.
They'll say they do service organizations. They'll say they have raised money for the Michigan Union, which is historically documented. They also claim that they've, might have founded other organizations.
I think a big reason why a lot of people have a problem with this organization is not only the fact that it's so racist, but because it's so elitist.
However, it's mostly a fraternal organization. It's a group of people getting to know each other, going and having a good time.
A few years ago, we ran into them at the Tappan Oak one night, and we got into an argument with these two women. And they were saying Michigamma does such great things on campus, but they couldn't come up with anything. They didn't say one thing. We kept asking them, and the only thing they could say was dance marathon.
We believe in sort of doing service anonymously and really coming together and forming other projects and other groups.
Well, that's lovely, and why can't that be then public and open?
But with anything, a lot of the organizations and a lot of the initiatives that have started because of Michigamma or because of relationships built through Michigamma have also had other people involved outside of Michigamma.
Secrecy is sexy and exciting. Anything that you don't know about, people are going to be excited about figuring it out.
My experience with them, that they were not a secret society. They actually announced their memberships.
Number 1 says, members of tribe bound by deepest secrecy, discussions in wigwam no go beyond door. And that is put in there kind of as that broken Hollywood Indian talk.
To me, it was less important whether or not they were a secret society. It was more important what this group is doing on campus.
Secret societies have no place in a public university. that in fact what we're about is openness and transparency.
Humility is a very important aspect of our organization. It is separate from secrecy. Secrecy was not a core value of the organization. Humility and anonymity are separate from that.
The Michigamua who claims to be fighting for Michigan, I want to know who's in it, I want to know what they're fighting for and what they're doing, because I'm part of Michigan too.
You can't choose Michigamua. Michigamua chooses you.
For all the people who want to like get into Michigamua or something. No, I'm just kidding. But I think it's it's looking for people who first and foremost love the University of Michigan.
The lure of the secret society, that hookup, the good old boy system is very hard for students to come. Students come to University of Michigan to be the leaders and the best. And I think for some people, unfortunately, that kind of epitomizes what it is.
I understand that there might even be a Native American member, or have been.
It's looking for people who work well with others, who are outstanding leaders in all areas of their life. They're great, honorable people. They have great personal judgment.
So I think and certainly gay, lesbian, bisexual. I don't know if there's a transgender person yet, but from what I have seen and heard, it seems as though there are quite a wider variety of students involved now in the organization than there were even 5 years ago.
So people have asked us how one is to become a member of Michigamua, and the truth is that unlike other student organizations, you can't apply or rush or go to a mass meeting or anything like that. You're basically hand-selected. It's called tapping.
They really kind of brainwash you into believing that it's the best thing that could ever happen to your life, and that all these people who are against it are crazy and don't know the truth about it.
After you make what's called the perspective list, I guess they start off with a big group of people. They talk about them. They eliminate the ones they know for sure are not going to do it, or they think they'd have problems with, and they make a prospect list. The prospect, if you're a prospect, what they do is they acquire a picture of you. Like here, they acquired a picture of this young lady here. And then they fill out this information sheet. This has their name, their primary activities, their email if possible, and then I find this particularly interesting, the best time and place to see them in action, meaning the best time and place where a Michigamua member can go and watch this person.
In terms of the rest of the process, it's mainly kind of a closed doors thing because it remains the organization only. Very similar. It's not similar, but it's closed in terms of the ways like maybe a fraternity might hold their rituals and so forth.
While the 2000 protests raged on, the university administration looked at their fundamental principles.
People were asking whether it was appropriate to have a select group of student organizations have what was considered access to privileged space at the university, namely the Tower of the Union.
What they did was they turned it into a space issue. It's just an issue of student organizations and space, which is very easy, it's very clean, it's very sanitized version.
What President Bollinger did was he appointed a panel of university faculty to look at this issue of space allocation and to try to answer the question of whether there could be a more fair and neutral process for allocating space.
This is the Vulcans room. The Vulcans are an engineering secret society. Not a whole lot is known about them, except that they occupy the 5th floor of the Michigan Union. This is the Phoenix room. Now, Phoenix is previously known as Adara. In, I think, 1975, or somewhere around there, Title IX passed, which was a gender equity law. And instead of incorporating women into their society, Michigamua decided to make an all-female sister society.
And the groups that were in the tower at that time voluntarily agreed to remove themselves from the tower.
They didn't actually kick them out of the tower because it was a racist organization, but because the tower wasn't handicap accessible, which is interesting.
Not handicap accessible. I mean, people can, visit that area, but there's nothing up in there. There's vacated rooms. They're not. It's a narrow stairwell, and it doesn't meet ADA codes.
I don't know. I honestly don't know why, even though there were fire hazard laws in the 70s, why now here we were in the 90s that those things weren't attended to.
In the end, they did recommend and acknowledge that the way in which those groups got access to the tower was probably flawed and that should be changed.
There is an issue of free expression, and just because an organization has free expression doesn't mean that that's the right thing to do.
And I think what President Bullinger was trying to do with his public statements at the time is make much more clear to the university community what the fundamental principles were, that we do have a fundamental belief in freedom of expression.
Free speech is not really free at all, but free speech contained the price that was paid in our ancestors' blood and our ancestors' lives and in the degradation of our culture, and this is a part of that price.
Let's say I walk up to you on the diag and I call you a name that's racially derogatory. That's a hate incident. I can't arrest you. The university can't arrest you for that. We probably can't throw you out of school for that. But we might really dislike that deeply. We might feel really angry about that. There was no doubt that the historical practices were racially demeaning and were using Native American culture in a way that Native Americans were deeply offended by. And I think that President Bullinger and other university leaders at the time really understood those concerns, really resonated to them.
I got the sense that he didn't fully understand the kind of pain and grief that it causes and brings up to people.
The issues that I described that we were wrestling with didn't always leap out as very obvious to people. For them it was very personal. It was, I've been deeply hurt by what's going on, or, you know, I'm angry that you have taken over my space if you were a Michigamua member, or I'm an alum of Michigamua and I feel like you're ascribing racist beliefs to a group that I'm part of, but I know I don't feel that way, so I'm hurt by this too. And there was just a lot of strong feeling on both sides of this issue, I think, in our community and also among our alumni.
There are many, many alumni of the university who are either in Michigamua or who support it. There are many donors to the university who probably don't see a problem with it. And so administrators answer to many constituencies. They answer to the regents, they answer to students, alumni, professors, and I think that they're in an awkward spot.
Their strategy was to leave us alone. They knew that we would eventually leave, and then we weren't necessarily blocking any day-to-day business, although we tried to do separate protests. We left the tower after 37 days basically for our own survival.
The effects of the 2000 protest went beyond the students.
There was a Native staff member, Shannon Martin, who was a student advocate. She worked in the Office of Multi-Ethnic Student Affairs.
After seeing these things in that room, you know, what is it with our culture and our people that people think it's all right to do this to us? That's the question that I just don't understand, and maybe I never will.
During the protest, she supported us. You know, she brought us blankets, helped bring us food, made sure that we were taken care of.
I think some other administrators viewed as being too sympathetic to the protesters was ultimately fired. The university pursued criminal charges, which most people think were trumped up and were ultimately dismissed in court.
I think that the Native community here at University of Michigan hasn't really healed from that.
There's certainly a lot of tension in the higher administration about what an appropriate response was.
Mm-hmm. What is the university's stance regarding Michigamua?
I think that's all been resolved. I mean, I think the issues have been resolved, and the association, it was moved off campus, and you know, that was an appropriate decision, and I still feel like that was a good one.
In 2006, Michigamua is still active.
How come it's been 6 years and there's almost no memory, no student memory of this incident?
No, I have not heard of Michigamua. No.
No. Okay. No.
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 The only underground organizations I've heard of are local farming ones. I'm not sure the particular name, but I got bumper stickers. You know, I participate in organic foods organizations.
And there's a reason for that. You know, the administration knows that students will graduate in 4 years, maybe 5.
When Lewis and Clark and the expedition.
And there's a collective kind of turnover of the collective student memory.
We're from Carol Jacobson's art and design class. We're given the choice to
pick a human rights issue that we wanted to work on.
I think it's pretty obvious we took the side that Michigamua is an organization that at least is detrimental to being on campus.
5 of us just had been interested in Michigamua, Ashwini and I, because we had just found about the same wall.
When my membership was made public to the Co-Coalition and to the organization SSAA, Students Supporting Affirmative Action, I was asked to not attend their meetings.
Groups such as the Random Ass People of Color, they had pressure, it's quite a name, we had pressure from them to, who enlisted a few of our current SON Central Planning Team members to look into the idea of possibly having me resign as co-chair.
It was just unbelievable that they would choose to stand behind a symbol of racism.
I don't believe that it has the potential to be changed.
I would want Michigamua to die.
I disagreed with the logic behind their decisions, but felt that I needed to respect the safe space of those who asked me to not return to their meetings.
If there's no membership in Michigamua, then it dies.
One of the reasons she says that she joined Michigamua was to change the group. And at first I thought that was really naive, but now I think it's arrogant. The road to hell is paved with good intentions, I guess.
Rob Goodspeed definitely helped us tremendously.
I view myself as not dictating an opinion, as simply providing people information. And sometimes the entire class will get leaked wholesale. The goal is to provide the information and to unveil the secrecy.
I don't know that what we did back then to resolve the issues, which I think were appropriate, should be expected to take away people's feelings of pain and hurt.
We just want to have a good time. We want to make this place better, and it's very important to us that we want to be accepted. Like, we're the people sitting next to you in your classes. We don't hold any bad intentions or any harmful thoughts or anything of that matter. We care for you just as much as you care for your best friend.
I don't think anyone in the university leadership is naively assuming that, you know, we can magically fix the hurt feelings of the past by adjusting our policies in some way. That's just not within our power, and I think it's important to validate the real feelings that people have when you talk about a subject like this.
So there is just a lot of sadness and anger.
In some meeting notes that we found, they go through what we call the Michigamua ABCs. Each letter in the name Michigamua stands for something, and U is for united. And I'll read, Michigamua is one united nation. At the meetings we pass the peace pipe and blow the smoke toward the center for unity. You young bucks have also learned the song. That song is the one thing that unites every member, old wolves and fighting wolves. So you can imagine them in here smoking this pipe and blowing that smoke towards the center, not unlike the yearbook pictures with the president, and believing that this is for unity, when in actuality pipes are used to pray, and when in actuality pipes carry all those thoughts and all those prayers up to the Creator. And so the destruction goes beyond being offensive. The destruction goes beyond desecration. The destruction goes to the very root of their spirits and their souls, if they have any.
Michigamua is very open to sitting down with members of the Native American community and discussing the different things that they take issue with and the way that we can really move forward and build a better relationship.
If the name doesn't change, then it doesn't matter what they're doing.
We are completely sorry for the pain that Native Americans and other members of the communities have felt for our past history.
And until it changes and goes away, progress can't be made.
As much as we try to get the students to be able to understand each other's points of view, I don't think that we ever effectively accomplished that.
On February 6, 2006, a lawsuit was filed against both Michigamua and the university for violating the 1989 agreement. The lawsuit is pending.
While the alum may have opinions and they might have experiences that they wish to share with current members, all of the decisions are up to the seniors.
Michigamua released the following statement. The current members of Michigamua recently announced the retirement of the name as of Monday, April 3rd, 2006. While the next Pride will be known as the Pride of 2007, a new name for the organization will be released in fall. They continue to fight for Michigan in all that they do.